The research vessel Horizon's Promise drifted silently through the Ta-Ceti system, its sensors carefully mapping the asteroid field that had caught Director Samira Hassan's attention 3 months ago. The ship's sophisticated instruments had detected unusual mineral compositions that could revolutionize Earth's manufacturing capabilities. After years of space exploration marked by disappointment and empty planets, this discovery felt different. Director Hassan, we're picking up some unusual energy signatures from the far side of the field, Lieutenant James O'Neill reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. It's unlike anything in our database. Samira leaned forward, her dark eyes narrowing as she studied the readouts. 20 years of deep space research had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now, they were screaming that something was off. Full sensor sweep, James. I want to know what we're dealing with. Before O'Neill could respond, the ship's AI, cut in with urgent precision. Multiple objects emerging from FTL. Configuration unknown. Energy signatures suggest weapon systems are active. The bridge crew froze, their training warring with disbelief. Humanity had yet to encounter any alien civilizations in their exploration of nearby star systems. Yet there they were, 3 sleek, predatory-looking vessels, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly purple-black metal that seemed to drink in the starlight. This is Director Samira Hassan of the Earth research vessel Horizon's Promise. She broadcast on all frequencies, keeping her voice steady. We are on a peaceful scientific mission and mean no harm. The response came in the form of a brilliant green beam that sliced through space, cutting across the Horizon's Promise's bow with surgical precision. Warning shot, Samira realized, her heart pounding. They're broadcasting. Communications Officer Raj Patel announced, his hands shaking slightly as he worked to translate the alien transmission. I think they're using some kind of universal mathematical language as a base. The message, when it came through, was chilling in its simplicity. Primitive species are not permitted in Craxan space. Submit to elimination. Like hell we will, Samira muttered, then raised her voice. Battle stations. Emergency jump protocols. The Horizon's Promise wasn't built for combat. It was a research vessel, its modifications focused on scientific equipment rather than weapons. But humanity had learned from its own violent history. Even their peaceful ships carried defensive capabilities. The alien vessels moved with frightening coordination, spreading out to cut off possible escape vectors. Another beam lanced out, this time striking the ship's engine housing. Alarms blared as systems began to fail. Hull breach on Deck 3. O'Neill shouted. We've lost 30% power to the main drive. Samira's mind raced. They needed to get a warning back to Earth. This wasn't just about their survival anymore. Humanity needed to know they weren't alone, and their first contacts were hostile. Raj, prepare a quantum burst transmission to Earth Command. Everything we have on these bastards. James, give me whatever power you can to the weapon systems. The Horizon's Promise shuddered as its point defense lasers opened up, spraying the approaching vessels with coherent light. The beams seemed to bend around the alien ship's hulls, barely leaving a mark. Their technology. It's so far beyond ours, O'Neill whispered, the color draining from his face. Samira gripped her command chair as another hit rocked the ship. Maybe. But humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our refusal to go quietly. Raj, is the transmission ready? Yes, Director. But we'll need to drop shields for a microsecond to punch through their jamming. Do it. And add this message. Earth Command, we are under attack by a hostile alien force calling themselves the Craxan. They shoot first and don't care for diplomacy. Don't try to negotiate. Don't show mercy. They won't extend the same courtesy. Hassan out. The ship bucked violently as another beam struck home. Direct hit to life support. O'Neill reported. We're venting atmosphere on multiple decks. Transmission away. Raj announced triumphantly, just before his console exploded in a shower of sparks, throwing him across the bridge. Samira watched as the alien ships moved in for the kill, their weapons charging for a final strike. She thought of Earth, of all the people going about their daily lives, unaware that everything was about to change. At least they would be warned. At least they would have a chance to prepare. "It's been an honor," she said to her crew, standing tall as the green beams converged on the Horizon's Promises Bridge. The explosion was visible from 3 light-years away, a brief flare of defiance in the cold dark of space. The Kraxan ships departed as quickly as they had arrived, satisfied that they had eliminated another potential rival species expansion. They didn't notice the quantum burst transmission racing toward Earth at faster-than-light speeds. They didn't realize that their simple act of aggression had just awakened a sleeping giant. They would learn, in time, that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their ships. It was their capacity for remembrance and their unflinching dedication to avenging their fallen. The real war hadn't even begun. Admiral Viktor Petrov stood at the window of Lunar Command, his weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass as he watched another wave of construction ships depart for Mars. 5 years had passed since the Horizon's Promise massacre, and humanity had used every second of that time wisely. The Artemis defense grid is now at 85% completion. "Admiral," reported Commander Yuki Tanaka, her holographic avatar materializing beside him. "The stealth satellites are performing beyond expectations. Even our own deep space sensors can barely detect them." Victor nodded, his steel-gray eyes tracking the movement of massive cargo vessels carrying components for the next phase of humanity's preparation, and Project Prometheus. Dr. Isabella Santos reports the quantum fold drive tests were successful. "We can now match, and exceed, Kraxan FTL capabilities." A thin smile crossed Victor's face. The aliens had thought they were crushing a primitive species, but they'd only succeeded in unifying humanity like never before. The old nations had pooled their resources, their brightest minds working together with a single purpose: survival. "Show me the latest intelligence from the Helios probes," Victor commanded, turning to face the command center's main display. The holographic projection filled the room, showing detailed scans of Kraxan territory. Thousands of microscopic stealth probes, another innovation born of desperate necessity, had been mapping their enemy's space for the past 3 years. "Their empire spans 47 systems," Yuki explained, highlighting various sectors. "But they're spread thin, arrogant. They don't expect resistance from primitive species, so their defensive capabilities are minimal in many sectors." Victor studied the tactical overlay, noting patrol patterns and fleet movements. The Kraxan were powerful, yes, but predictable. Their technological superiority had bred complacency. "Admiral," a new voice cut in, "you're needed in Laboratory 7. Dr. Reynolds says it's urgent." The trip to the underground facility took mere minutes via the magnetic transit system. Victor found Dr. Nathan Reynolds practically bouncing with excitement in front of a massive containment chamber. "We've done it," Nathan announced without preamble. "We finally cracked their shield technology and improved upon it." Victor approached the chamber where a small prototype device hummed softly. "Show me." Nathan activated the shield, and a shimmer of energy enveloped the device. Standard energy weapons, kinetic impacts, even their own beam weapons. Our shields don't just block them, they absorb and redirect the energy. "How soon can we begin mass production?" 6 months for the first batch of ship-scale units. But that's not all. Nathan's eyes gleamed. "Remember those mineral samples from the Horizon's Promises last transmission? We've synthesized them. The new alloy is ready for ship production." Victor felt a surge of satisfaction. The Kraxan's attack had been meant to eliminate a potential rival. Instead, they'd given humanity the keys to their own destruction. In orbit above Mars, the first of the new warships was nearing completion. The UES Retribution would be the flagship of humanity's revenge fleet. Unlike the elegant curved lines of Kraxan vessels, human ships were angular, practical, and bristling with weapons. They weren't built to look beautiful. They were built to survive and win. Admiral, Yuki's avatar appeared again. The Council is ready for your final briefing. In the secure conference chamber, holographic representations of Earth's unified leadership awaited his report. Victor stood before them, straight-backed and confident. Distinguished Council members, he began. Phase 1 of our preparation is nearly complete. The Sol system is now the most heavily fortified stronghold in known space. Our fleet, while smaller than the Kraxans, is technologically superior in several key areas. Most importantly, they don't know we're coming. Council President Adebayo leaned forward. And you believe we're ready? The Kraxan think they eliminated a primitive species capable only of basic space travel. Their patrols near our sector have decreased by 60% over the past year. They've dismissed us as a threat. Victor's voice hardened. That will be their last mistake. There will be no possibility of peaceful resolution, another council member observed. This path leads only to war. They made that choice 5 years ago, Victor replied, when they murdered 300 innocent researchers without provocation, when they denied us even the chance to surrender honorably. He paused, letting his words sink in. Humanity tried to reach for the stars in peace. They responded with violence. Now they'll learn why that was the worst decision their species has ever made. The council chambers fell silent as the implications settled over them. Humanity had spent 5 years preparing, advancing centuries in technological development through sheer determination and necessity. They had built not just weapons, but an entire infrastructure of war, hidden from prying eyes. Very well, President Adebayo announced. Operation Thunderstrike is approved. May God have mercy on them, because humanity will not. As Victor left the chamber, his thoughts turned to the crew of the Horizon's Promise. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. Their warning had given Earth time to prepare. And now, finally, it was time to show the galaxy why humanity should never be underestimated. In shipyards across the solar system, lights blazed as construction accelerated. On training grounds on Mars and Europa, soldiers drilled with advanced weapons and tactics. In laboratories and research facilities, scientists continued pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The Kraxan had thought they were being methodical, eliminating potential rivals before they could become threats. They didn't understand that humans were at their most dangerous when backed into a corner. They had no idea that their simple act of aggression had initiated a sequence of events that would reshape the galaxy. Humanity was ready. And this time, they weren't coming in peace. The UES Retribution dropped out of quantum-fold space with deadly precision, leading a fleet of 50 warships into the heart of Kraxan territory. Admiral Viktor Petrov stood on the bridge, watching as his carefully orchestrated plan unfolded. Multiple Kraxan vessels detected. Lieutenant Aria Rodriguez reported, her hands moving swiftly across the tactical display. They're scrambling to combat positions, but they're disorganized. They didn't expect us here. Launch Ghost Wings, Victor commanded. Execute Pattern Sigma. From the belly of each human warship, squadrons of stealth fighters emerged. Unlike traditional spacecraft, these vessels were coated in light-absorbing metamaterials, making them nearly invisible to both sensors and the naked eye. The fighters streaked toward their targets, guided by pilots who had trained for this moment for years. The Kraxan response was exactly as predicted, arrogant and overconfident. Their ships moved to engage the human fleet directly, ignoring the seemingly empty space around them. It was their first and last mistake. Ghost Wings in position. Commander Marcus Wong's voice crackled over the comm, ready to deliver the package. Victor allowed himself a grim smile. Execute. Across the battlefield, dozens of Kraxan ships suddenly found themselves engulfed in quantum disruption fields, their advanced shields flickering and failing as specially designed nanites ate through their defense systems. The Ghost Wings had delivered their payload. Microscopic swarms of self-replicating machines designed specifically to target Kraxan technology. Enemy shields are down, Rodriguez announced. Their weapons systems are going dark. All ships, weapons free, Victor ordered. show them what humanity has learned. The human fleet opened fire with a devastating barrage of advanced weaponry, plasma torpedoes, quantum-phased beam weapons, and kinetic strike missiles, each designed to exploit weaknesses in Kraxan ship design that had been meticulously documented over 5 years of covered observation. On the main viewer, Victor watched as Kraxan vessels, once considered invincible, broke apart under the human onslaught. Their crews had never experienced real combat against an equal opponent, let alone one that had specifically prepared to counter their every advantage. Admiral Yuki's avatar appeared, her expression urgent. "We're detecting quantum communications from the enemy fleet. They're calling for reinforcements." "Good," Victor replied. "Let them come. Initiate Phase 2. Throughout Kraxan space, hidden quantum beacons activated. These devices, secretly placed by stealth probes over the years, began broadcasting a signal that disrupted the aliens' faster-than-light communications. Their carefully coordinated empire was suddenly fragmented, each sector cut off from the others. "Enemy reinforcements arriving," Rodriguez reported. 5 capital ships. The new arrivals emerged from FTL, their weapons charging. They were larger than the patrol ships, true warships of the Kraxan fleet. Under normal circumstances, they would have been devastating opponents. But these weren't normal circumstances. "Deploy the nightmare spheres," Victor commanded. From the human fleet, small black orbs were launched toward the Kraxan reinforcements. As they approached, they activated, generating localized fields that turned the very laws of physics against their targets. Space itself seemed to twist and distort around the Kraxan ships, their own energy weapons reflected back at them by quantum mirrors. "Sir," Rodriguez's voice was filled with awe. "The enemy fleet. They're retreating." Victor watched as the surviving Kraxan vessels desperately tried to escape, only to find their FTL drives refusing to engage. Another effect of the quantum disruption fields that now blanketed the sector. "No mercy," Victor reminded his fleet. "Remember the Horizon's promise." The battle, if it could even be called that, was over in minutes. Where once had floated a proud Kraxan defense fleet, now drifted only debris and disabled vessels. Human casualties were minimal, their ships protected by shields and armor that had been specifically designed to counter Kraxan weapons. "Secure the sector," Victor ordered, "and prepare to broadcast our message." On every frequency, in every language they had decoded from Kraxan communications, the same transmission began to play. "Attention, Kraxan Empire. 5 years ago, you murdered a peaceful human research vessel. You thought us primitive. You thought us weak. You were wrong. This is humanity's response. We are coming for you, and we will not stop until justice is served." As his fleet secured their first victory deep in enemy territory, Victor thought about how the Kraxan must be reacting. Their impregnable empire had just been violated by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. Their supposedly superior technology had been not just countered, but thoroughly defeated. "Admiral," Yuki appeared again. "We're detecting multiple quantum fluctuations. The Kraxan are mobilizing their main fleet." "Right on schedule," Victor nodded. "Signal the second wave to begin their attacks. Let's show them what happens when they underestimate humanity." Across Kraxan space, more human fleets emerged from quantum-fold space, striking critical military installations and shipyards. Each attack was precisely coordinated, exploiting weaknesses that had been mapped and analyzed for years. The Kraxan's greatest strength, their technological superiority, had become their greatest weakness, as they had never imagined a primitive species could so thoroughly understand and counter their systems. Operation Thunderstrike had begun, and with it, the galaxy was about to learn a valuable lesson. Humanity might come in peace, but if forced to war, they would fight with a determination and ingenuity that no other species could match. The real question was no longer whether humanity would win, but how much of the Kraxan Empire would survive their retribution. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 12 different spacefaring civilizations watched the holographic display. It showed the systematic dismantling of what had once been considered the most powerful empire in known space. High Counselor Zixtal of the Viridian Collective leaned forward, their crystalline form catching the light. In just 3 standard months, these humans have conquered 36 Kraxan systems. It's unprecedented. The human delegation sat silently at their newly granted seat, represented by Ambassador Nadia Patel. She watched her alien counterparts with careful attention, noting their mixture of fear and fascination. Just as planned. "What truly disturbs me," spoke Tilara, the serpentine representative of the ancient Mire, "is not their military prowess, but their methodology. They're not just winning. They're systematically deconstructing everything the Kraxan built." The hologram shifted to show a human fleet executing what they called a Ghost Protocol attack. Kraxan defensive platforms, worth trillions in resources, simply disappeared as specialized weapons reduced them to their component atoms. Nothing was left to salvage or rebuild. "We have received a diplomatic package from Earth Command," announced the Council Chair. "Ambassador Patel, would you care to explain?" Nadia stood, her dark uniform adorned with a single silver pin, a memorial to the Horizon's promise. "Of course, what you're witnessing isn't just warfare. It's a message, written in a language that aggressors understand. Consequences." She gestured, and the hologram changed to show the human fleet's next targets. "We've discovered that the Kraxan's expansion wasn't limited to their attack on humanity. 7 other emerging civilizations were eliminated before they could reach the stars. Species that might have brought new ideas, new perspectives to this galaxy. All gone because the Kraxan decided they had the right to play God." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Kraxan hadn't just attacked humanity. They had been systematically culling potential rivals for centuries. "The diplomatic package contains 2 offerings," Nadia continued. "First, a non-aggression treaty. Humanity has no interest in conquest or empire building. We want what we always wanted, to explore, to learn, to grow." "And the second?" Zixtal asked, their crystalline form vibrating with tension. "A warning." Nadia's voice hardened. "What we've done to the Kraxan will happen to any civilization that follows their example. Humanity extends friendship freely, but we will not tolerate genocide or unprovoked aggression." In deep space, aboard the UES Retribution, Admiral Viktor Petrov received the latest intelligence reports. The Kraxan had finally realized the true extent of their predicament. They weren't facing a simple revenge attack, but a carefully planned extinction event. "Admiral." Yuki appeared, her holographic form flickering with urgency. "We've intercepted a transmission from the Kraxan High Command. They're requesting unconditional surrender." Victor raised an eyebrow. "After only 3 months? I expected them to hold out longer." The Psychological Warfare Division's analysis suggests they finally understood what we're doing. We're not just defeating their forces, we're erasing every trace of their empire. Their history, their monuments, their legacy, all being systematically reduced to cosmic dust. A fitting punishment, Victor thought, for a species that had tried to erase humanity's future. Signal the fleet. Prepare for the final phase. The Retribution's quantum drives hummed to life as the massive ship led its fleet toward the Kraxan homeworld. But this time, they weren't coming to destroy. The true victory wouldn't be in elimination, but in transformation. "Open a channel to their high command," Victor ordered. It's time they understood the full scope of human justice. The message he sent was simple but profound. The Kraxan Empire would cease to exist, but its people would survive, under human supervision. Their military would be disbanded, their aggressive technology confiscated, and their society rebuilt from the ground up. They would learn what it meant to be part of a galactic community rather than its self-appointed executioners. As news of the surrender spread, other alien civilizations watched in amazement. The humans had done more than win a war. They had rewritten the rules of galactic politics. Their victory wasn't measured in territory conquered or resources seized, but in the message they sent. Peaceful cooperation would be rewarded, but aggression would be met with overwhelming force. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Patel concluded her presentation. Humanity could have chosen simple revenge. We could have done to the Kraxan what they tried to do to us. Instead, we chose justice tempered with mercy. Remember this because it defines who we are. We're not conquerors or executioners. We're guardians of a better future. The chamber erupted in discussion as the implications became clear. Humanity hadn't just defeated one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. They had appointed themselves protectors of emerging civilizations. They had drawn a line in the cosmic sand. Never again would a young species be erased simply for having the audacity to reach for the stars. The hunter had indeed become the hunted, but the prey had turned out to be something far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. A species that combined technological brilliance with an unshakable moral compass. The galaxy would never be the same. 10 years after the surrender of the Kraxan Empire, the galaxy had changed in ways few could have predicted. On the terraformed plains of New Genesis, formerly the Kraxan homeworld, Admiral Viktor Petrov, now retired, stood beside Ambassador Nadia Patel, watching young Kraxan children playing alongside human colonists. Sometimes I wonder if Director Hassan would approve of what we've built from her sacrifice, Victor mused, his once dark hair now completely silver. She warned us to show no mercy, Nadia replied. But I think she would understand that true strength lies in knowing when to stop. The rehabilitation of the Kraxan species had become humanity's greatest achievement. Instead of extinction, they had chosen transformation. The once militant empire had been reshaped into a peaceful civilization, their aggressive tendencies channeled into scientific research and cultural advancement. Admiral Petrov, a young Kraxan, approached, her scaled skin shimmering in the twin sun's light. My history class is studying the Great Revolution. Would you tell us about the day everything changed? Victor smiled, noting how the young ones no longer spoke with the harsh accents of their ancestors. The day of surrender wasn't the day everything changed, Kira. The change began the moment your leaders realized what humanity truly was. In orbit above, the massive form of the Museum of Remembrance cast its shadow on the plains below. The converted Kraxan battle station now housed artifacts from both sides of the conflict, including a preserved section of the Horizon's Promise. It served as both memorial and warning. Incoming transmission from Earth Command. Yuki's familiar hologram appeared, her code having been granted permanent autonomous status years ago. The emergence protocol has been activated. They found another one. Nadia's eyes lit up. Where? This was humanity's new mission. After the Kraxan War, they had devoted vast resources to finding and protecting emerging civilizations. The emergence protocol ensured that no young species would face what humanity had faced, a violent first contact that could have ended their story before it truly began. Deploy the welcome fleet, Victor ordered, falling easily back into his command voice despite his retirement. Standard first contact procedures. The welcome fleet, a task force of Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessels, was humanity's answer to their own tragic first contact. Instead of waiting for young civilizations to stumble into danger, humanity actively sought them out, offering protection, guidance, and a place in the galactic community. In the decade since the war, 7 new species have been welcomed into the stars this way. Each success strengthened humanity's position, not as conquerors, but as guardians of galactic peace. The Galactic Council has ratified the Protected Species Act, Nadia added, checking her quantum comm. All emerging civilizations are now officially under joint protection. The Kraxan representatives were the first to sign. Victor nodded in satisfaction. The galaxy had learned its lesson, not through fear of human military might, but through respect for human wisdom. The species that had been dismissed as primitive had become the architects of a new galactic order. In the distance, a group of Kraxan engineers worked alongside human scientists, developing new technologies that would benefit all species. Their former weapons research facilities had been converted into medical research centers, their military academies transformed into universities of sinocultural studies. "You know what the most remarkable thing is?" Nadia said, watching the mixed group of children play. "We didn't just change them. They changed us too. Humanity had to learn to balance justice with mercy, strength with wisdom. We became what we needed to be," Victor replied. "Not just survivors, but teachers. Not just warriors, but guardians." Above them, the stars twinkled with new promise. In the vast darkness between them, human ships patrolled ancient trade routes, protecting the weak and guiding the young. The species that had once feared extinction had become the shepherds of a new age. In the Galactic Council archives, a simple plaque commemorated the transformation. "Here marks the beginning of the Pax Humana, when humanity proved that the strongest response to violence is not revenge, but reformation. When the victims became protectors, and the stars became a little brighter for all." The crew of the Horizon's Promise had died believing they were alone in a hostile universe. Their sacrifice had led to something greater than revenge. It had sparked a revolution in how civilizations interacted. Their warning to show no mercy had paradoxically taught humanity the true value of mercy when tempered with justice and wisdom. As night fell on New Genesis, the lights of mixed human Craxan cities illuminated the horizon. In orbit, ships of a dozen species passed peacefully, their crews working together under the banner of unity that humanity had helped create. The galaxy had learned its lesson, written not in blood and fire, but in understanding and growth. The stars no longer held terror for emerging civilizations. Instead, they promised opportunity, protected by the species that had transformed from victims to guardians, from survivors to teachers, from the hunted to the shepherds of a new galactic age. The lesson had been written in stars, and it would endure for generations to come.